Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. If you're a woman, does this sound like you? Life is good. You're a mom. You take care of a lot in your life, and your family as well. But have you realized that maybe you kind of lost a piece of you along the way because you're focused on caring for everyone else? It's time to return to you. Get back to the person you were. It's you, only better, because you've got a family, you're taking care of everybody, you're working hard. We're going to talk with somebody that empowers women to do just that. And she's got an amazing coaching program. We've talked before with her about the energy work she does. She's intuitive, she's plugged in, and it's great to have her back here. Linzi Schreiner is on the program. How you doing today?
Hi, and
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, if you didn't hear, we were talking about the program, the coaching program you have, and how it supports women and helps them get back to the person they were. Not that there's anything with the person they are, but that person is now taking care of family, home, working, potentially on and on and on and on. You kind of lose yourself along the ways. Is this what you hear from women, and that is why you designed this coaching program?
So, yes, when my daughter was originally diagnosed and we started our journey with her medical needs, I got lost in that. And not only did I get lost in her issues, but I lost my sense of self. I lost my sense of identity. I couldn't even tell you what brought me joy. I remember being in a therapy session and my therapist asked me, "What brings you joy?" And I looked at her and I said, "I have no idea." And it was in that moment that I realized I had completely lost who I was when I started the journey of motherhood. And now, fast forward about 8 years later, I am a Reiki healing practitioner. I am a certified yoga teacher. I run my own wellness business. And I have always worked really well with women. And to your earlier question, yes, I find that women tend to lose their sense of self, whether they're a mother or not. Most women are caretakers in some capacity. And I began really working with women and helping them identify their sense of self. And I became very inspired to create a coaching program one-on-one that helps women who have felt like they have lost their sense of who they are. They've lost their spark. They've lost their light. And I've constructed it in such a way that each coaching program with each individual is different because every person needs something different. They have different blocks. They're working with different struggles, different traumas. But the whole purpose of the program is to help them return to that inner light and spark that only they can offer the world, so that they can shine their light and radiate the world and help raise the world's vibration. We have all felt lost at one point in time, and my goal is to be a beacon of light.
Beautifully said. And when you mentioned before, what brings you joy? What makes you happy? I'll bet you, men or women, probably paused for a second in hearing that and had to think, like, I don't know. What is it? It's like, even myself, honestly, and I'm not just saying this, doing podcasts with people like you brings me joy. Not even kidding. It's not work. I look forward to every single time we're on. It's not work. So I think that maybe defines it, when it comes to your purpose and things like that. But, when it's what brings you joy, sometimes we sit with that, and then maybe we have to go back to what brought us joy back in the day before life moved on and changed. Kids came along, marriage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you find what brings you joy? I think it's just big. How do you identify that?
It's big, and it is hard, especially when we are in the action of tending to others, taking care of others' needs, work demands. We really get lost in the action of doing an accomplishment. And somewhere along the way, I think we tend to lose why we started it to begin with. But how do you find joy? It's a sensation in your body. And honestly, in order for us to understand joy, we have had to have felt the opposite experience of that, which is pain and suffering. But for me, when I think about what brings me joy, I kind of stop and feel into my body a little bit. And there's this fluttering sensation around my heart, or it's an activity that I perform that gives me energy. And so
Mm,
for me, what brings me joy, I love being in my garden. It grounds me. It gives me
mm,
a sense of purpose. I feel so connected to something bigger than myself when I'm dealing with my garden.
mm.
I love doing yoga. Every time I'm on my mat, the world melts away, and I always leave my mat a better person than where I started. I love Reiki. It brings me joy and it gets me excited. I love anything to do with the spiritual realm. I love talking about your shadow self or your spirit guides. I love dipping into intuition and playing with that. And as a little girl, I was obsessed with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I loved watching Goosebumps. I really, really enjoyed anything that dealt with Harry Potter or the magical world and or horoscopes, right? And I loved being in nature. I grew up in the country. I loved pretending to be a fairy, and I felt so wonderful. And all of these things are connected to my joy now, if you really think about it.
Interesting that you said the garden. All of the things except for yoga, because I've never done that, but it's on my radar. But you just flashed in my mind that I didn't realize how much I enjoyed doing that until I sold my house. And it was this month, 3 years ago. And I renovated the whole backyard, did everything, did all the landscaping with a little bit of help. But once it was done, maintained everything, I would go out there for hours, my feet in the dirt. I had the dirtiest feet of anybody you'll ever see because I didn't put shoes on. And I never knew about this thing called grounding back then, but I was in my happy space. And sometimes you don't realize it until you're not doing it anymore, that was actually doing something for you in a very positive way. How do you help, Linzi, how do you help women come back to themselves? Obviously identifying the things that bring joy, but what are some of the things that you do to support?
Yeah. So the coaching program consists of a combination of Reiki, intuitive guidance, journal prompting. There's yoga involved as well. But how I help women find their joy is at first I analyze their energetic centers and identify within them where they're experiencing energetic blocks. And through identifying those energetic blocks, we begin having conversation and go through journal prompting to understand maybe where those blocks occurred and understanding how they're impacting their lives today. Because once we have an awareness of where our blocks are, where our blind spots are, they're no longer blind. We can bring light to those areas. And how I help them identify their joy is through heartfelt conversation, through the exercises I bring them through, and through the weeks that we're together, we begin to identify those things through the program by Reiki, by intuition, by the journal prompting. It's all within them. And I give you the tools and give them the tools to help bring that out and hold the space for them as they process, why did I let this thing go? Or how do I incorporate this more in my life today?
Aside from identifying our joy, what do you think is missing? There's no like secret sauce and it's not one size fits all because everybody's different, but by and large, aside from the joy thing, what do you think that we are missing in our lives that could help us get back to who we were?
We're overgiving ourselves and we're not setting appropriate boundaries. Like I could answer that immediately. The reason we lose ourselves is because we overgive who we are to other people and not respecting our own energy. And that's one thing I help my clients understand is how does your energy feel at baseline? That way, when we find that we are on empty, that we need to set firm boundaries to say no to whatever task is daunting or calling to you, or the people that are draining you, but also whenever your tank is full, what you are capable of doing. It's really about understanding your own personal boundaries, your own energy, and respecting that. beginning to honor that, because nobody else can do that for you. Nobody else can take care of you the way you can take care of you. And it's been taught, especially to women, that taking care of yourself is selfish, especially if you have children, but it's the opposite. If you are not taking care of you, you and I have talked about this multiple times, you cannot take care of other people.
Well, what you said, very impactful and so true that we don't realize it, that nobody is going to take care of you better than you. Nobody's going to love you more than you can love yourself. Once you figure that out,
right?
You're it. You always have somebody in your corner, and that's you. But we lose track of that. And going back to what you said about giving to others and taking away from ourselves. There's many different reasons for that. I believe one of them is the universal reason within all of us. Many counselors, therapists say it, that we all have this feeling that in some regard that we're not good enough. So then what do? We make up for it by giving so much to others, whether it's time, money, attention, on and on and on, to take away from ourselves, to make ourselves more valuable to the other person, whoever that person is. Do you agree with that?
I do. And oftentimes when we give, maybe we don't get in return what we put into it. And so it leaves us feeling deflated, and it perpetuates that cycle of I'm not enough. I didn't do that well enough. I didn't perform well enough. I didn't speak well enough. We walk away from conversations and we get into our own head and begin what I call shoulding all over ourselves. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done this. And stop the voice.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you happy with how you perform something? It's like, it's hard because it's shifting an inner dialogue from outward gratification to inward gratification and appreciation for what you've achieved.
Wow. I never realized what you just said, in that if you don't feel appreciated, some of us will say, I helped them out. They didn't, that's how they react. They barely even said thank you. Geez, okay. Others may look at it as, well, yeah, they didn't say thank you, or they didn't seem like they appreciated it because I'm not good enough. I didn't do a good enough job.
Because I didn't do it right.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is honestly tied to a solar plexus block that probably started in childhood. And so if that I'm not enough, or the self-esteem is coming up a lot, I know that we've got some energetic work to do around the solar plexus. And so I would immediately begin to come up with things that can be done outside of session during the coaching program to help nourish that energy center.
And at this point, we jam on the brakes and focus on that, because that is what radically makes you different in terms of when you're coaching, because you do Reiki and energy healing and you're intuitive. You feel somebody, you figure them out energetically. A lot of great coaches out there. It's all good. But when you harness the power of energy and supporting somebody through coaching, and also, like you said, suck energy, big win there. Big win.
It's a big win. And it is helpful because everyone is really motivated from a different place in their body, or they have one energy center that really is the star of your show and what you need to check in with the most. I think you've mentioned that you feel things in your stomach sometimes, or maybe in the back of your shoulders sometimes when you're feeling tense. And so as we begin to bring clients into their inner body, because that's really where the work starts. It's making them feel safe in their body. It's making sure that there's trust between myself and the client. And then it's beginning to get to know their body within themselves. And so I ask a lot of questions about, hey, I hear you saying that this happened this week and that was really frustrating for you. When you think about that frustration and that pain, where do you experience that in your body? Because part of the coaching, I don't want to see clients forever. I would love to. I have no problem with that because it's cool watching people progress. But ultimately, my goal at the end of the program is to help the client return to their sense of self and have authority over their body and their own energy, so that they understand, I'm feeling this sensation or this fluttering around my heart. And for me, this means that I'm navigating over a boundary right now. Maybe I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, go take a break. The goal is to help the person literally return back to their own inner healer, because you are the most powerful healer that you need. And the reason you're feeling lost and disconnected is because you have put yourself to the side.
Mm. With what you offer, do you feel that if it's just coaching, again, nothing wrong with that, and it's commendable for anybody, you're moving your life forward, you're taking steps to do it, that you get to a certain point, but you may not be able to progress past that. But when you combine it with the energy healing aspect of it, that you can really move people forward where they might not have been able to with a coach.
Oh, 100%, because Reiki takes over. I'm just the channel. And I do have the gift of being able to communicate with people we cannot see in the room. And I do channel. And so there are intuitive messages that come through that is specifically meant for that person. And even though it may not mean much to me, it means something to them every single time. And so the combination of coaching, of having someone that can work with you from an energetic perspective, combined with true coaching elements, it just makes this perfect matrimony between self-growth, self-improvement, and the forces that we cannot see around us and how they can truly help us get out of our own way.
How does it begin? So somebody connects with you. No, you know, a woman says, my life is crazy. I need to get me back. What's the starting point? Is it you go on a fact-finding mission, learn about their lives, learn about their goal and all of that?
It starts with a 90-minute Reiki session. And we begin with, I assess the energy centers. I get to know them. Usually the people that end up becoming coaching clients I've already been seeing for a while, and they want more. They want more. They want more time. They want more of what I have to offer, and they want more for themselves in a fashion that is focused on them. But it begins with a 90-minute Reiki session, and we kick it off. We set some intentions. I have clients write a letter about how they're feeling right now and what they would like to feel when the program ends. And we seal that together. If it's online, they would seal it. If we're together in person, then we would seal it together. We close that letter and then we reopen it in the very last coaching session. And every time, Steve, every single time, everything that client writes down that they want to feel happens, because there's power in writing.
There really is. And it's funny you should say that, because I'm taking a few days off for myself. I never do this. I'm traveling alone. I'm going to see a friend, but I told him, don't entertain me. Don't even think about it. Do whatever you're doing. I'm happy just to sit and stare at the sky or the water. That's it. And I haven't written in my journal in a long time. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to bring that with me. I'm going to put some thoughts down. And then I started thumbing through it. And I look back to last fall, actually the end of last summer. And I don't even have words, like what I was feeling, what I was thinking, and all the stuff that went on from then until now. Like, I don't even think we even realize what has happened in the last 6 months. If you look back, what has happened with your life, how it may have moved forward. Maybe you have a setback, how you got over it. You are so spot on. Write it down. Right? I got to get in the habit again, because I want to look back in another 6 months. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, it is really cool, especially if you write like a manifestation list or things that you're trying to bring into your life. There's just power in writing. And in that initial session, I assess for blocks, and that's where conversation begins. And most of the time, people get a little caught off guard that I sense into those things and can say, hey, did something happen in your childhood around this stage of life that you feel like is impacting you to this day? And their eyes will get big and say, yes, how do you know that? And so there's a lot of this trust element that comes into play. But once I understand where some of the major core blocks that we're working with, that's what we'll cater the program to. That's what we'll cater the journal prompting to. And that's what each coaching session will focus on to help alleviate that. And then let's focus on what brings you joy. What have you done today to bring yourself joy? And at first it can just be something simple. And by the end of it, because you've taken steps to bring joy into your life every day, it's amazing the transformation that can happen in even a short 6-week period.
I was just going to ask you that. Now, everybody's different. Every situation is different. But, on average, how many sessions do you think it would take before somebody starts realizing, oh, okay, I feel some forward momentum. I feel more connected with myself?
Yeah. It depends. Like you said, it does depend on the person, and it depends on their dedication to the program. If you're not doing any work outside of our time together, you'll see progress, but maybe not in the way that someone would if they were really taking it to heart and doing the steps outside of our sessions together. I coordinate this program in a 6-week period. I find it to be very impactful in that time. But if the client is still needing additional coaching after that 6 weeks, we just extend it. We extend the program. We agree on what would feel right from there. I would like to see a client monthly after that if they're still struggling or still finding their footing. But I have found that 6 weeks is a really great period because the way that I've constructed this is I do 3 longer Reiki sessions over that 6-week period, and then a coaching session each week to help integrate. Plus, I give a little bit of homework and movement opportunities. That is totally up to the client if they do those things or not, but it's very helpful during this container. And I also give clients access to have one-on-one communication with me outside of our in-person or remote sessions during that 6-week container. And so they have a lot of support to work through what they need to in that time. And what I have seen is that we have a very different person by that 6-week time that has ended, simply because of the intense program we go through and the energetic blocks that are clearing. And if you're doing the movement that I recommend, you're shifting those things out of your body. And so all of that muck that really helps dilute you and dilute your light comes back online. And so you feel more energetic. Nothing about your life is going to change unless you decide to change it. But your inner world is going to be very different, which makes your outer world feel so much more manageable. And really, it's a perspective shift. And that can only happen in your internal world. That is how we get to a new version of yourself, or an old version of yourself, really, is by letting go of the noise and returning to what makes you feel like you.
What a beautiful feeling.
Yeah,
that is.
I'm really passionate about this.
Oh, no, I get it. I get it. And I understand it personally because big fan of Reiki and on a journey myself, not about me, but I can understand and appreciate what you're saying, because once you start figuring out what's going on, what has been going on, and it doesn't mean that, somebody's in 6 weeks, I'm a brand new person. This is amazing.
Right.
No, but you are.
Nope.
But you are going to have a lot of clarity, and you're going to feel like you're more connected with not just yourself, but life in general.
The goal is to make you feel more like yourself.
Yeah.
So then I ask you the question on the last day, what brings you joy? You don't look at me like a deer in the headlights. You can tell me.
Super important. How do we find you?
You can find me on my website, www.plyhealing.com.
You are amazing at what you do, and so understanding, coming from your life and the challenges with you and your family and everything. So you get it and understand it. And I swear you're intuitive, because I was thinking today how much I miss being in the garden, and you started talking about it. It's like completely random, but it resonates, and everything you do does. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for these podcasts and the insight that you spread on what's out there and how we can help heal and feel better and eventually find our joy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. It's been a wild ride, and I've loved every minute of it.
Thanks, Linzi. All right, we're coming right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.